Hey everybody, welcome back again. In this movie, we're actually going to get our feet wet and begin to program some JavaScript. And so how is this done? Well, the first thing let's do is I'm going to go ahead and open TextMate here, and let's create a new document. And I'm going to go ahead and save this as an HTML document. We'll call this JavaScript.html, and I'll just throw that on the desktop for now. And let's use Text Expander to go ahead and put our skeleton in for HTML5 here. And for the title, I'll just give this, let's just say JavaScript. And I'm going to basically give you your first lesson in JavaScript. Okay, first of all, where does the script go? I think that's pretty important. And, so far we've talked about, you can kind of think of it like what we've done with CSS, how you get that into the file. You have a couple options with that. You can put your scripts in the head of the document. You can actually put your scripts in an external document. So these are all just like what we've dealt with CSS. Or you can kind of put them in elements in the HTML, which is probably the last thing you probably want to do, but it does have a place. So for instance, if you want to put it just in the head of your document, and we can do that here because it's just a little one-page document, let's go ahead and what we're going to do is use the script tag. So we'll say script, and then we need to close that out. And in previous versions of HTML, I can't do two things at once today. In previous versions of HTML, you required some attributes. So HTML4, XHTML, things like that required the script, the type to be set to JavaScript. But the truth known is you really never embedded any other type of script other than JavaScript. So those are not required in HTML5. Just know that. It's very simple. You just use the script tag. And within the script tag, kind of maybe hard to notice in this video, but you can see it kind of TextMate has grayed out this area. It basically means, just like with CSS, when I use the style tag, is we're going to be speaking another language in here. We're going to be using the language of JavaScript. Now, JavaScript, at its base here is, we're going to talk about some of the syntax here. And the first thing I'm going to show you how to do, this is kind of out of order of how most people show you how to do things, but I'm going to show you how to call a function. And what is a function? Well, a function is very simple. It's basically a little line of code that is reusable and it does something. Okay, and you can write your own custom functions, but we're not there yet. And then there are also built-in functions that JavaScript recognizes, or the browsers will recognize in general. One of these is the alert function, and I will show you what this does. If I write the word alert, and then I put an open and close parenthesis, and then follow it by a semicolon. And let's kind of dissect what I just did. It's very simple. Inside the script tag, we're speaking JavaScript right now, and I called an alert function. The function is called alert, and it's built-in function, so you wouldn't want to write a function and call it that because you'll have a conflict. But don't worry about that just yet. It is followed by two parentheses, and that is followed by a semicolon. The parentheses both indicate that this is indeed a function and not something else, okay? Or I'm not speaking English here. It means I am calling a function. So functions always require these two parentheses. And sometimes you can have things that go inside these parentheses, okay? And we'll talk about that in just a second. But the semicolon is important too because this is like the period at the end of a sentence. So this is kind of just like JavaScript punctuation, if you will, that we have a function and it is terminated. The reason you need to terminate it is because sometimes you'll write more code in there and the browser will get confused because it thinks that it's part of that function somehow or it's something that has to do with that function. So it's really important to terminate just like you would when you're speaking a language with punctuation. And that punctuation is always a semicolon. Okay, so it's easy enough to remember. Now inside the parentheses, I can put information. And we're going to see what the alert function does right here. Let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. And if I open this in the browser, you're going to see that I got a little alert window. And you've probably seen this on websites before. It says the word undefined in here because I haven't given it a message to give as an alert, but it does give me the OK button. So that's what this alert function does, is it's built into the JavaScript language, and it basically opens up an alert window. Okay, so let's go ahead and say OK to close that. I'm going to go back over to TextMate here. Inside the parentheses, I'm going to put a message, and this message must be in quotes. Okay, so I'll put two quotes, and they can be double or single. It doesn't matter. Just keep them consistent. So if you open with a single, close with a single. If you open with a double, close with a double. And I'm going to say hello world in here. An exclamation point. So I've written my first script here in JavaScript. And basically I've called the alert function. Inside the parentheses, it's expecting some kind of argument. In this case, it's expecting the text to give it. Remember where it said undefined before. And I've given it a semicolon to terminate the sentence, if you will, here. We'll go back over. I will refresh the page. And lo and behold, I get hello world. Okay, so this is a built-in JavaScript function. It's very handy. This is a good one to use for testing things sometimes if you're not sure what's going on, because JavaScript's really not talking to you behind the scenes. It's up to you to know how to code it. There's some others you've probably seen too. A really close cousin to alert is confirm. And, you could confirm. Let's change the message to something that makes a little more sense here. Are you sure you want to, I don't know, do something? Question mark. Okay, so that's what it's going to confirm. So when I go back over here and refresh, it gives me the confirm window. And the confirm window is like the alert, but it gives you a chance to cancel. So for instance, if you were going to delete your reservation at a hotel, you might want a JavaScript pop-up allowing the user to say, hey, are you sure you want to do this? And give them the opportunity to cancel or say, okay. So that is our first script in JavaScript. We're going to move on in the next movie, and we're going to start building on this. But what I want you to take away from this is how to put the script inside, where to put the script. Also, let me show you real quick. You can also install the script here remotely. You can have multiple scripts, by the way, just like you can have multiple CSS files. And the other way you can do it is if I do the script tag, and you have to close it. And this is a weird one because this is not self-closing. It must be closed. But I'm going to say script and then src equals my script .js. So for instance, we could have an external file called myscripts.js, and I can call that into this document. It's a great way to work, just like CSS. If you're going to use this across multiple pages, you'll want to do it this way. So anyway, it does the same thing. And then we also learned what a function is. A function is always preceded by something, the function name. So function name, and then in parentheses, and then a semicolon, and that calls the function. We used a built-in function. This is one I just made up. It doesn't exist. We used the built-in function of alert, and in quotes, message here. And then we used a semicolon to end it. And we also talked about the confirm function. So those are built-in functions. We're going to talk about how to write our own. But we're going to move on in the next movie to talk about variables and some things like that. So I'll see you on the flip side.